Hey there, campers! This is Chris McLean, and you're watching Total Drama Ricky! Don't forget to like and subscribe, or you'll be walking the dock of shame. I love my job.
Why don't you demonstrate, chef? Not on me, dude!
Well, there are a lot of things to discuss when it comes to Total Drama. We talk about our favorite seasons, episodes, characters, shippings, lots and lots of shippings. But I'm surprised that the one thing that is not talked about, at least not as frequent, are the challenges. Just hearing the words, "your first challenge is," goes to show what the good old McLean has in store for his victims. I mean campers. Every episode of Total Drama will have somewhat a maximum of 1 to 4 parts in every challenge, and either a team or individual player must complete them to gain a reward and or invincibility from elimination. And all of the challenges can be ranged from simple and easy to why is Chris McLean still not in prison? But as the sick entities that we are, we can't help but enjoy them for what they were known best, and that's bringing the pain, shock, hilariosity, humiliation, tension, blowout, and extreme levels of competition. And to be honest, this list was pretty hard to make. There are so many amazing and fun challenges throughout Total Drama that putting them into a top 10 was a challenge, no pun intended. So fuck it, I'm making this into a series by ranking the best challenges in every season, starting with Island. Let's just hope my backlog doesn't get clogged up this time. So here are my top 10 favorite Total Drama Island challenges of all time.
Okay, I think you've had enough.
Oh no, just one more.
Looks like we got ourselves a teenage version of Who's Got Talent, but for all the wrong reasons. In the episode Not Quite Famous, both teams, the Screaming Gophers and Killer Bats, must choose 3 teammates to compete in a classic talent show and earn a high rating on the Chef-O-Meter, as Chef is the judge off screen. Throughout the challenge, some of the campers show off their interesting talents like DJ's Ribbon Ballet to Owen's ABC Burp Marathon, though others have really weird ones like Izzy's Snake Dancing, Katie and Sadie's... what the fuck are they even doing? Although it's not to say each team had their own mishaps, like Tyler failing his yo-yo tricks, Beth almost burning the Gophers with her fiery batons, and Courtney and her violin crushed by a spotlight. But now it comes down to the talent show, as the Gophers have Justin, Trent, and Heather, and the Bats have DJ, Jeff, and Bridget. While the Gophers have the advantage with Justin's talent and Trent's acoustic solo, and also Heather reading Gwen's diary, but I already talked about that before, the Bats are unfortunately in a rut. DJ botches up his performance, Bridget vomits and falls out, and Jeff breaks his skateboard. Now it's all up to Harold to save the Bats from elimination again. And let's say that Harold provided one of the most epic beatboxes of all time. In fact, it's so epic that I can't show it in this video because YouTube copyright! But damn, this beatbox will go down in the Total Drama history books. I also want to give a shout out to Brian Froud, the voice actor of Harold, who uploaded a video last year reenacting the epic beatboxing moment as the character himself. This was God's greatest gift to the Total Drama fandom, and I highly recommend you check it out. The link to his video will be in the description below. Overall, this challenge was pretty darn good. I kinda wish we got to see the others show off their talents like Lashana, Lindsay, Gwen, and Cody. Maybe he has something interesting to show other than creepily simping for the goth girl. But you know, you take what you can get, and it's fun seeing these guys show their hidden talents and somehow botching them up as well. Seriously, how did Courtney survive that? So no joke, I love food. It is the essential for human life that keeps us going, and we cannot get enough of it. Hell, you put down a large pepperoni pizza in front of me and I'll scarf it down like how Izzy does it. And it's no surprise that the 3-course meal challenge in the episode If You Can't Take the Heat takes this spot. Both teams must cook up 3 meals and serve them to Chris for tasting and judging, and see who ranks up the most points in the end. While the best teams seem to work pretty smoothly, other than the boys teaching Harold a hard lesson about leaving his dirty underoos all over, the Gophers meanwhile are not doing well cause Heather's the head chef, so you know things are about to go wrong. More arguments between LaShawn and Heather that looks like it's about to go down Def Jam style. Trent gets severely injured due to getting knocked out with a crate of oranges. Their flambe dessert burns up as well as Heather's eyebrows. Dumping Heather in a freezer so they don't have to deal with her arrogant nagging and bitching. And Owen eating the entire goddamn plate of ribs. And the ending with Beth and her tiki doll that she got from Boney Island from a few episodes ago that she wasn't supposed to retrieve. Like, what did the golfers do right in this challenge? But let's not forget about the boys from the Bass team torturing Harold about leaving his dirty laundry by taking his shorts, leaving him with a thong, soaking his underwear in hot sauce, eating them as sandwiches, and exposing himself in front of the girls. Literally, the entire episode is filled with so many funny and satisfying moments that it's just too much to count. Also, can I say that some of the food that the Bass team cooked up actually looks appetizing? No joke, this episode actually inspired me to try out cooking for myself, and, well, let's say that things didn't really go so well. Oh dear. In the episode Paintball Deer Hunter, that was supposed to be a pun. Okay, I'm sorry. Each team are separated into two sections, the deer and the hunters. One section will be provided with a paintball gun, camo cap, and goggles, and the other will unfortunately have the deer antlers, red noses, and fluffy tails. Then they must try to shoot down the most deer and win the challenge. Seems simple enough and a pretty wild idea, although things don't go according to plan in the end. On the Gopher side, Heather orders her alliance members, Lindsay and Beth, to find her some food even though she's the deer and Beth and Lindsay are the hunters. Beth goes to retrieve some chips in the kitchen from the main lodge until she realizes, wait a minute, I don't like Heather. She's a bitch! And well, this brought upon some tension between Heather and her alliance members that caused her to get shot by paintballs a few times. Meanwhile, DJ is letting his deer instincts get the better of him, hopping around and eating grass. And Owen hunting him down, which unfortunately led to hitting his nuts on the sharp rock and getting thrown off a fucking cliff. Seriously, DJ ain't no pushover. Anyways, Beth finally stood up to Heather and all of her bitchiness, in which LaShawn and Beth shoot her with paintballs, and then it's friendly fire carnage. This takes me back to the good old days of trolling gameplay videos.
What the fuck? I'm on your fucking team!
While this challenge wasn't as exciting as it seemed, you can't deny the best moments are just goddamn legendary. Beth finally stood up to Heather, the bitch queen, getting her comeuppance with paintballs, Coda's encounter with a bear, DJ's epic moment, and Owen monologuing himself about being a hunter, yet he still screws up. Well, we're at the rising point. The teams are no more, but every guy and gal for themselves. And what better way to start this off by competing in a good old-fashioned Say Uncle game. In the episode No Pain, No Game, the remaining competitors must compete in a variety of excruciating, life-threatening, and humiliating torture challenges in under 10 seconds. Any competitor refuses or fails to complete the challenge will be eliminated, and the prize is a luxurious trailer and individual invincibility. Of course, we can't forget to mention the return of Eva and Izzy. Eva, who is still pretty salty about being backstabbed by her former teammates, although she forces her aggression on Bridget. I still feel really bad for her. And Izzy, who we last saw was being chased by the RCMP but somehow escaped and is now back in the competition. Good stuff. Anyways, the challenges! And boy, I'm kinda glad this is a cartoon. Duncan is the first unfortunate victim, and his challenge is to survive a swarm of snapping turtles shot by Chef with a hockey stick. You can see the look on his face that he is fucked. But that was only the beginning. We move on to our other victims like Owen wearing wooden pants with a woodpecker ready to peck his nuts, Lindsay getting marshmallow wax in her face, DJ getting trapped and squeezed by a boat constructor, Jeff's body filled with blood-sucking leeches, Bridget wearing a shirt with live bees, Gwen listening to MGK and immediately regretting it, and Izzy getting shocked by eels and her face wrapped in poison ivy. Eva is somehow dominating this after surviving 10 seconds inside a box with Sasquatchanaqua, so it's up to the lone survivor Lashana to take the top spot. And she has by beating a grizzly bear in a log roll surrounded by piranha-infested water. Although this lasted way more than 10 seconds, so what's up with that? Glad to see that Lashana got her moment to shine. Boy, this competition has a lot to offer in terms of pain and humiliation. Just when you first see the face of Duncan and his failure to overcome fear, you know things are about to get serious. especially with how everyone detests Eva throughout the challenge, hoping she will not get farther with her fuming arrogance. But Lashana rises as the conquering hero, saving the cast from dealing with an angry Blueberry and finally vote her off the show for good. In general, this challenge had some painful but funny moments. Mostly painful. But I gotta ask, where was Heather throughout all of this? We didn't get to see her compete in the challenge. What the fuck? Speaking of Heather, in the penultimate episode, I Triple Dog Dare You, we have our final 3 competitors, Heather, Gwen, and Owen. Now they're on the verge to the finale, but they would need to get through a high stakes game of I Triple Dog Dare You. Chris has assembled various amounts of dares from the previous losers and compiled them into a wheel with a bottle as the spinner. The finalists will each spin the bottle, and whichever the spot it lands on determines the dare. The finalists can complete the dare themselves and win a get out of dare freebie, which is just an empty soda bottle, or they can pass the dare to someone else. But if they refuse to complete or accept the dare, then they are immediately eliminated from the competition. It's pretty much bad blood at this point, at least between Gwen and Heather. However, Owen managed to trudge through the dares and win a shit ton of freebies. Like, this fat motherfucker chew Harold's piece of gum with his booger in sight, Christ, gave a bear a nipple pinch, wore a diaper, grew a beard of bees, and ate fucking dog food. This thick boy is unstoppable! Gwen and Heather continue to dare each other, from drinking punch from the toilet to licking jelly out of Owen's belly button. Oof, these two really hate each other that much. That is until Gwen decides to make a deal with Owen by splitting his freebie award so they'll have a higher advantage against Heather. And let's just say that she pretty much got the sharp end of the sword, and it hurts like hell. No joke, Heather went through so much shit throughout the rest of the dares, like eating a live cockroach, swimming in a small pool of leeches, slapping herself repeatedly for some reason, kissing Chef's dirty sock, and being fired from a cannon into a pile of piggy shit. Ugh, this almost makes me feel kinda bad for her. But now it's time for Lindsay's dare, and Heather believes that there is no way the blonde girl could think of a cruel dare for her former BFF. So the dare is that Heather has to let Chef shave off all of her hair.
What?
I fucking love Lindsay. Now the question is, did Heather do the dare? What do you think? She kicks the electric razor off of Chef's hand, it lands on her head, and shaves off a majority of her hair. But because Heather technically didn't accept the dare, she's immediately eliminated from the competition. Talk about a major downfall. A pretty deserving one at best. And now, thanks to Heather's hair malfunction, Owen and Gwen are moving on to the finale. Wow, this challenge was crazy, but fuck it was entertaining as hell. Seeing these 3 go through pain, disgustingness, and humiliation just to reach the final 2 spots towards the grand prize, and the dares coming from the previous losers, that was also a nice touch. And let's be honest, we were just clamoring and hoping that Heather would not make it farther after everything she has done throughout the island, and now, karma's a bitch. You could say that was a close shave.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Huh, would you look at that? Seems like Chef Hatch is getting his time to shine as the host. Well, more like a military sergeant because of his time during the war. Allegedly. In the episode Basic Straining, the teams must endure through Chef's bootcamp training challenges, and whoever's the last one standing wins immunity for their team. Seeing how Master Chief, no, though that would have been equally as awesome, takes part as the host for this episode. He definitely shows that he ain't no pushover. He is much more aggressive, hostile, and confrontational towards the contestants, giving them a hard time trying to complete the challenges. Though I wouldn't mind seeing Chef do more hosting later in the series. I mean, he does kinda, but not like this episode. So anyway, let's talk about the boot camp training, and boy do the campers have a rough time with this one. The first part is that both teams must keep their canoes over their heads for as long as they can, and if anybody takes their hands off, they will be disqualified. This lasted the entire day. They even missed breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's pretty funny that Master Chief and Chris are sitting on top of the canoes to, I guess, add weight, and Chief telling the stories about being in a war. Allegedly. Unfortunately, Lindsay from the Gophers was the first to submit. After having a well-deserved meal straight out of the garbage cans, they move on to... Anyways, then they must write a 300-word essay about how much they love Master Chief, to which both DJ and Trent failed from falling asleep. Although credit to Duncan, he wrote a 300-word essay by repeatedly using the word very. That's fucking hilarious. Later, both teams trudged through a muddy obstacle course in under a minute, although we never got to see who won or lost because of Duncan's mischiefs and pissing off the chief. We finally move on to the last part, which 3 contestants of each team are hung upside down from a tree branch and see who can last the longest. Because of Chef's description of what happens when you're hung upside down, Duncan is the first one to fall. Heather calls it quits due to Owen's farting, to which he falls on her moments after. Courtney suddenly bursts out laughing, also causing her to fall. Afterwards, she says this to Master Chief.
Master Chief, I just have one thing to say to you.
And what might that be?
You really need to take a chill pill.
God, I fucking love Courtney. Now, with only Gwen and Jeff left, we'll find out who will be the first one to fall and the last one for their team victory, and oh, never mind, Jeff is done. Gwen is the last remaining survivor and wins the challenge for the Gophers. I mean, Chef Hatchet got to host an episode, we saw some fun and entertaining moments, Courtney and Duncan finally got together, what more could you ask for? I'm pretty sure when we were young, before the new generation was infected with social media drama and TikTok cringe, we played a classic game of hide and seek outside just for the hell of it. It was a fun time and it's even more intense if you were the one hiding. In the episode Hide and Be Sneaky, the challenge is just the usual hide and seek game, except that Chef is the seeker and will be carrying a powerful ass water gun. The campers will need to evade him to claim home base, which is located near the docks. If Chef sees them or sprays them, then they are eliminated. Luckily though, they do earn invincibility if they make it to home base or help Chef locate the other campers. To be honest, some of the hiding spots that these guys found are pretty lame, but that's what makes it more hilarious. Seriously, Owen and DJ? I think anyone can see you guys hiding on the roof in the main lodge. You guys are big boys after all. Although I still feel bad for Bridget because she tried to find a good hiding spot, but her clumsiness led to getting sprayed by a family of skunks. However, I want to talk about 2 highlights from this challenge. One is Lindsay and her lack of knowledge of hide and seek. She first starts out by hiding inside a bunk bed, to which Chris easily finds her. Lindsay then tries to hide in one of the bathroom stalls that again Chris finds her. Seriously, has this girl not once played hide and seek? She then follows Heather trying to find a spot in the main lodge because of course they are BFFs, so maybe she can help her find a good spot. But instead Heather chastises her for not understanding the rules, and they both get caught by Chef. Nice job, Lindsay, you sure know how to play the game. The second highlight is between Chef and Izzy, and boy was this wild to watch. Izzy follows him through the island, mocking his movements and hiding when he turns around. Go through that James Bond shit I see. But when Chef heads into the main lodge, Izzy comes out with a sneeze attack and they throw down the biggest smackdown that makes John Wick look like an amateur. Unfortunately, Izzy couldn't make it to the safe zone, but damn, that was still a wild attempt. Though, I gotta give mad props to Lashana and her hiding spot. She stayed underwater for almost the entire challenge, and not once did Chef have the thought someone would be hiding in the water until the end. Like, she had her swimsuit on and her straw was a water plant. That is just pure genius. This challenge was a lot of fun. I did find a few of the hiding spot attempts pretty hilarious, mostly from Lindsay. But there were a few I thought were pretty impressive, like Gwen camouflaging herself in a blanket of grass, and Jeff hiding on top of a tall tree, though they didn't last very long. And again, the best parts are Lindsay's cluelessness and Izzy and Chef's badass melee. And all of this from a game of hide and seek. Even Total Drama can make a simple game like that exciting. Obviously in reality shows, it's best to build trust with the people around you. Sometimes you can be with the people that you're cool with or absolutely despise for the life of you. Well, Total Drama isn't afraid to exploit that shit, especially when both teams are already experiencing cracks in their teamwork. In the episode Who Can You Trust, the Gophers and Bass are tasked with 5 trust exercises, with Chris choosing who will participate in each exercise. The first exercise is that one teammate will be wearing their harness gear and climbing up a rock cliff filled with interesting surprises, mostly explosions, and the other must hold on to the rope and keep them up from falling. Of course, that one moment when Heather pulls the backup rope and she exposes Gwen's undergarments. They're 16, guys. DJ gets distracted, causing him and Duncan to be tied to the rope and suspended in the air. Gwen says fuck it and climbs up to the top and finishes the first challenge. The next exercise is about making a meal with a fugu blowfish, eating it and hopefully not dying from it. And we have Jeff and Bridget from the Bass and Trent and Lindsay from the Gophers. Oh no. Jeff thankfully enjoyed it without the feeling of near death, but as for Trent, yep, I can see why Lindsay says she took biology, but she didn't pass it. Yikes. The last three are actually blind exercises. The blind William tail with apples and arrows, the blind trapeze over a pool with electric jellyfish, and the blind toboggan race down a giant hill. For the first blind challenge, one teammate will be blindfolded and shooting crab apples at an arrow hanging on the head of another teammate. So basically it's the William tail apple shot, but in reverse. I think I can see why they did that instead, though it still delivers an equal amount of pain. So we have Owen and Lashana for the Gophers, and Courtney and Sadie for the Bass. The Gophers have a better advantage since Owen is barely feeling any pain from all the apples being shot at him. Meanwhile, Courtney is ditching all the pain thanks to Sadie's lack of correct accuracy. Lashana finally succeeds by knocking out the arrow from Owen's head, but Sadie is still insistent on firing more apples at Courtney despite being told the challenge is already over. For the next blind challenge, one teammate is blindfolded again and must jump on the arms of the other teammate, who is hanging on the trapeze, and avoid a hard fall into a pool of jellyfish. Harold and Bridget managed to survive for the Bass. As for the Gophers though...
Shocking.
Ha, you just had to let Lindsay in for this one, eh? The last blindfold challenge is a toboggan race between Gwen and Lashana and DJ and Jeff. One teammate will be the blindfolded driver and the other is the navigator. However, DJ's having some trust issues with Jeff since he lost his pet bunny due to natural causes. The race is on as Gwen and Lashana seems they have the upper hand, kinda, while DJ's losing focus because of his pet bunny, almost leaving him and Jeff near the brink of death. Thankfully, Duncan finds another pet bunny and DJ's ecstatic and back in control. The Bass finally finished the race first thanks to an explosive trap, and the dude is reunited with his bunny. Unfortunately, since DJ was not supposed to take off his blindfold during the race because it is a blind challenge, they are disqualified and the Gophers are declared the winners. You know, in a reality show like this, I can understand why it's hard to build trust with your teammates. Overall, these challenges have their own variety of pain, trauma, and embarrassment, and yet we can't help but feel satisfied over what has transpired. Especially after watching this, yeah, maybe trust shouldn't be the only major factor when it comes to building alliances. Unless your teammate rips out your skirt, poisons you with blowfish, fires apples at you, drops you in jellyfish, and disqualifies your team over a fucking bunny, then you'll probably have a hard time trusting people from now on. The episode Phobia Factor actually starts off in a pretty unique pace as it takes place immediately after Katie's elimination from the previous episode. But both teams actually sit around the campfire to chill for a bit. Then Beth brings out a plate of green jelly with a gummy worm inside and offers it to the killer Bass, in which DJ freaks out and slaps the plate out of her hands. This is where we get the catalyst to the upcoming challenge. The campers share their greatest phobias with each other, with some that can be relatable like being buried alive, snakes, flying, hail, and being alone in the woods. But others that are so unquestionably pathetic and hilarious like fear of mimes, bad haircuts, ninjas, chickens, sumo wrestlers, and Celine Dion music store standees. How can you make this shit up? So, where do we begin? Chris announces the next day that all the contestants will be confronting their fears and if they can conquer them to gain points for their respective teams. Obviously, since this is a reality show, meaning you want to be careful with what you say on television because soon it's gonna blow up in your face in mortification. We'll get to that in a little bit. So throughout the challenge, left and right, contestants face their fears with some succeeding and some not so much. Although I found some of the outcomes of their fears, like Trent trying to escape the mime and forgetting to dig up Gwen, Tyler cowering in fear over a chicken, and Duncan hugging the standee they're so fucking funny. So we're near the end as the Screaming Gophers have a winning lead with 7-3, and now we move on to Courtney, the last remaining teammate of the Killer Bass, who said in the beginning that she isn't afraid of anything. Or is she? Like I said, be careful what you say on television. Turns out that Courtney has zelatinophobia, which is a big boy word for fear of jelly, which we're shown a clip of her rejecting Beth's plate of jelly and stating that she doesn't like green jelly because it reminds her of snot. Chris sweetens the deal that if Courtney conquers her fear, then the Bass earns triple points and win the challenge, and all she needed to do was dive into a pool of green jelly. So you know earlier when Courtney was assuring Duncan that he didn't have to do his fear but influenced him to face it, which is pretty adorable? Well, now she was forced to face hers, which was kinda contradictory. Although to be fair, her team was on the brim of losing, so she really needed those extra points. Unfortunately, Courtney's fear got the best of her and she backs out, giving the victory to the Screaming Gophers. Jeez, no matter how strong this woman is, her weakness will come back to haunt her. This challenge was a lot of fun and definitely shows that we can develop our own phobias, even if they're pretty outrageous in a different perspective. But seeing the contestants trying to confront theirs with some succeeding and some failing just entertains us in the best way. Like, Harold has a fear of ninjas, but being confronted by them in a bathroom stall out of all places, it seems like he was gonna kick some ass, but then he failed. Moments like that, with not the most satisfying outcomes, is still entertaining to watch. Okay, let me tell you this. If you have a friend who has a fear of something massively terrifying, show them this episode. Then they'll realize that at least they're not afraid of chickens or sumo wrestlers. Like, seriously? Sumo wrestlers?
Why?
Okay, I know I'm gonna get some comments like, Ricky, why didn't you include this challenge? Or, this challenge is better because it has Heather's boobies. Okay, those are exaggerative examples, but you'd be surprised what I find in the comments on my videos. But anyways, if there's a certain challenge that I didn't include in this list, feel free to share your opinions in the comment section below. Now it's time for number 1. It's not gonna be much of a surprise, but you'll see why. I freaking love Dodgeball. It's a fun activity where all you have to do is throw balls and hit the opposing team, and at the same time, trying to avoid getting hit as well. I played a lot of Dodgeball back in middle school, and I always try to be the remaining survivor and become the underdog by eliminating the rest of the opposing team. Although, I was never good at it. So, seeing the Dodgeball episode again, I can see why this sport is really fun and intense. In this episode, the Gophers and Bass are playing a classic 5-round game of Dodgeball, and it's pretty simple. However, the teams must leave a player out per game, which Noah is unimpressed with the game that he's basically the only one that sits out for the Gophers. Bad idea, dude. And already we have our first hilarious moment in the first round with Tyler being overhyped with his physical abilities that he throws the ball and hits one of his own teammates from the bench and gets annihilated by Owen. Oh my god, this challenge is already perfect. I cannot describe how intense and incredible this game of Dodgeball was. Left and right, every contestant from each team gets eliminated in the most painful and embarrassing way. My favorite was when Gwen, despite being extremely exhausted from the previous Awake-a-thon episode, immediately gets hit in the head with a dodgeball the second she stepped onto the court. I could not stop laughing after seeing that. Tyler was also great in this challenge, but for the wrong reasons. While he didn't succeed in the first round, Tyler tells his fellow Bass teammates to give him the ball so he can play at his full potential. That doesn't work out too well for him either, as he starts throwing them all over the place until he finally hits his girlfriend who was on the Gophers team. He feels bad over what happened to Lindsay, covering her face with bad bruises, and comforts her in the most adorable way. And then this happens. We also got to see some awesome and, dare I say, impressive moments between some of the characters and their performance on the court. Cody was the last remaining teammate on the Gopher side against Katie and DJ from the Bass, but he uses his electric boomerang skills to take out DJ on the bum and slamming Katie on the wall. Like, how the fuck did he do that? And Owen dominated the second round by knocking out every single Bass player on his own and gaining his team a victory. Now at that point, the Bass team was losing and they did not want to add another loss and lose another teammate. So they had to rely their aid on Duncan, who did not react very positively with their attempt to wake him up, but Courtney threatens him that he would be the next one eliminated if they lose again. So he agrees to help as long as they follow his orders. Thanks to Duncan's new tactic called Rush the New Guy, which is just throwing all the balls at one person so it makes it impossible for them to avoid, they managed to succeed in the next few rounds. Now it's time for the final round as the Bass and Gophers are tied, and the game continues with some more entertaining moments until it's down to Owen and Harold. Harold is seen as an easy target for the Gophers, but when Owen throws 4 dodgeballs at him, the Napoleon nerd uses his Matrix shit and avoids all of them. Damn bro, that puts Keanu Reeves in general to shame. However, dodging the balls is not enough, and since he can't throw for shit, his best attempt is to catch the ball. Owen gives the final epic throw at Harold, and that force was hard enough to slam Harold onto the glass wall. But he successfully catches the ball and gives the undisputed victory to the Bass. Holy motherfucking this challenge was awesome. I mean, what else is there more to say? I was at the edge of my seat throughout this challenge and I enjoyed every single minute of it. And yeah, this was just an easy game of dodgeball. No gimmicks, no deadly traps, no chance for a lawsuit, just an intense and hysterical game of dodgeball. And it is a more common activity among summer camps, so it makes sense. But out of all of the challenges in this season, why this one? Why not the one where the campers need to catch their assigned animals, the extreme bike race, the Awake-a-thon, or them camping out in the woods? Well, this challenge is kind of like cheese pizza. Sure, you can add toppings to it so you can make your own style, but it's okay to eat it without toppings because it's still delicious. That is the Dodgeball Challenge. It is a straightforward challenge, but it still provides a great amount of satisfaction with a lot of memorable moments. And it gave the characters some time to shine, even if they're not the greatest highlights in terms of performance. I mean, all the other challenges are great as well, but the Dodgeball Challenge is the one I enjoyed the hell out of the most. And again, I love Dodgeball, so I'm glad to see Total Drama can make something as simple as this into an extraordinary experience. Now, with that said, hey Strider!
What was that, Ricky?
Oh, are you alright?
I'm okay.